So it's that time of year where I have to do some sort of fragrance list for the season, and that season in particular is summer. Now, as per usual, I'd normally do a top 10 fragrances, but my buddy Nigel at the channel 2 Cents Worth informs me that top 10s are out, mate. It's all about top 7s. That's what YouTube loves, it's what algorithms love, it's what people's attention spans love. So I'm definitely not doing a top 10 fragrance list. I'm doing a top 7 fragrance list with 3 honourable mentions. Of all the seasons, it's probably my summer rotation that changes the least. It's definitely more about evolution rather than revolution, because I just find most fragrances are just citrusy, fresh kind of things. And so once I find something I like, I stick with them. So my honourable mentions are 3 fragrances that were all on my list from last year, which I will link down below because it's one of my most viewed videos. So let's start with the honourable mentions. First honourable mention is a Zaro Chrome Sport. Now you can get about 100ml of this for in the region of £20. So it is an absolute bargain and it smells amazing. It smells just like Versace's Man Eau Fresh, which is not an expensive fragrance at all, to be honest, but you probably for a similar sort of price as 50ml of that, you can get 100ml of this. And this is just a lovely, fresh burst of citrusiness. It's just one of those fragrances that when you spray it on, it just revitalizes you, and it's just a refreshing, invigorating fragrance. And my wife has actually complimented me on this, so I highly recommend a Zaro Chrome Sport. The next honourable mention is a fragrance that has fallen from the #1 spot from last year's summer list, and everybody knows I love Mercedes-Benz cologne. Now the reason it's an honourable mention and not in the list proper is because it's like rocking horse shit, mate. You really struggle to get hold of this now. I got this 120ml bottle for about £20, which was an amazing deal, and it was a blind buy, and it was one of the best blind buys I've ever done. But it's been discontinued or something, or I've overhyped it, because it's now really difficult to get hold of, and it's more expensive than Dior Homme Cologne, which is basically what it's cloning. So yeah, it's an amazing fragrance. If you can get a deal on eBay or something like that, I highly recommend you that you pick this up, because this is just a delightful kind of sexy mandarin. It's manly, it's sexy, but it's still fresh and citrusy from that mandarin. Lovely. So I managed to get through 2 fragrances before I got to something that was made by the House of Bulgari. So I've done pretty well by my standards. I have to include this because it's an absolute bargain, and for a summer fragrance it is unique. It's Bulgari's Man Extreme. Now the reason this is unique is because it gets a lot of its freshness from the note of cactus, which is really rare. Normally you get lots of bergamot, mandarin, basically lemon, citruses, but this actually has a really lovely note of cactus, which is really unique in summer kind of fresh fragrances, which is why this kind of stands out. Yet it's still kind of manly, and it's just a lovely kind of sexy, attractive fragrance that you could easily wear in the office. It's very alpha male, but in a kind of approachable, attractive kind of way. But yeah, it's a great fragrance which you can get for less than £30, so highly recommend Bulgari's Man Extreme. So onto the list proper, and #7 spot goes to Montblanc Explorer. Now, anybody that's followed me for a while on this channel, you'll know that I'm not a big Venice fan. I kind of like it, I think it's a good fragrance, but I don't really get the hype. However, this fragrance just works really well for me. I don't think it is a direct clone of Aventus. I think it's just very, very derivative. They have changed it up a little bit. I much prefer the bergamot in here instead of the pineapple, and the dry down is a lot more kind of mass appealing, and it's a bit softer and not as complex, but that works for me. But I had to include this on the list because this just gets me insane amount of compliments. I've had really weird compliments as well from strangers, which just doesn't happen to me. When you've got a face like this, that doesn't happen. So if you want compliments, get Montblanc Explorer. #6 spot goes to a fragrance from the clone house of Perfume Parlor. Now, I've not done anything with Perfume Parlor, many of their fragrances at all. I've not spoken about them for a long, long time now. I started out doing quite a few of them, as many people did, but I've kind of moved on to different kind of clone houses like Alexandria and Pocket Sense, and obviously lots of designers, and recently I even become a niche bellend. So, you know, but this is a clone of a niche fragrance. So this is Perfume Parlour's Immortal 1871, and it's their inspiration of Elysium from Roger Parfums. Now, I really like this version. I've tried lots of different versions. I've tried Alexandria's, I've tried Rosa Salas version, and they are all good. I don't think this is necessarily the closest to the original, but this is my favourite purely because they've amped up the kind of citrusy accords. And the adjective I always use to describe this fragrance is juicy. They've really kind of amped up, and it's got this lovely mandarin orangey kind of juiciness that I get from this, which I just really enjoy, which is really fresh and clean and attractive. And I just love wearing this, and I've got a compliment from the wife on this one as well. So this is one of the best Perfume Parlor fragrances that I've tried for kind of a really long time actually. I really like this one. It is from their kind of more premium line, so this is not one of their kind of cheaper versions. This is like 30 odd pounds I think, but this is my favourite. Like I say, not necessarily the best Elysium clone, as in the closest, but it's the best for me in the sense of the one that I think smells the best and works best for me, because I just love those citrusy juiciness. Number 5 is going to a fragrance that was on my list last year. It's also in my top 10 fragrances for life, and it's a fragrance that my wife recently gave me an unsolicited compliment saying that I smelt divine. That fragrance is Clinique's Happy for Men. Now, anybody that follows the channel will know I love this fragrance. I love the note of mandarin. It's one of my favourite accords, and this does it well. Yes, it's a little bit synthetic, and yes, the performance is not great. This is definitely a fragrance that's better at the weekends when you can maybe go out in the morning, come back home, and then go out again in the afternoon, so you've got opportunity to top up. But it just smells amazing. I just love it. As I say, I wore it recently, I showered in the evening and wanted something nice and clean and fresh, put this on, and my wife said I smelt divine. So it is a great fragrance, and it is cheap as well. And it's quite old now, but it doesn't smell dated at all to me. It still smells current, it still smells good. But yeah, performance is lacking, but it just smells so good. So I will definitely rock this summer. Number 4 spot goes to an absolute cliche and a fragrance that everybody's heard of, and it's really boring and obvious, but I've got to give it to L'Homme Sport from the House of Chanel. This is actually a recent pickup for me. I got this in this year, 2020. I think I picked up in sort of February time. And I've always held fire on it. I've always just thought it's a bit obvious, a bit cliche, but whenever I smelt it in an airport, I just thought, God, it smells good. And then when I smell it on skin, it just develops this lovely creaminess that just works so well with the kind of fresher elements that I just love it. I just absolutely love it, and it lasts and it performs. So if I ever want like a really fresh summer fragrance that is gonna last me all day, this is what I reach for. Just the balance between the citrusy freshness and the creaminess on the skin is just beautiful. It is a lovely fragrance, sophisticated, smooth, and actually the prices aren't stupid nowadays. So yeah, highly recommend Chanel L'Homme Sport. The number 3 spot goes to another clone house. That house is Alexandria Fragrances. It's a fragrance that I recently smelled in one of my Alexandria first impressions videos. I smelled a sample, loved the sample so much, I went and got a full bottle. The fragrance I'm talking about is Sparkling Bergamot. So this is a clone of Le Labo's Bergamot 22, and it's not a complicated fragrance by any means. It's quite simple. It's obviously got a lot of bergamot in it, and it's just got this lovely kind of clean, powdery kind of muskiness, which complements it so well with the kind of fresh bergamot. This just makes this smooth, clean and attractive. As I say, it's quite a simple fragrance, and I certainly wouldn't pay the full retail price for the Le Labo version, but this just resonated with me. It just works kind of so well. I would say this is very unisex, probably a bit more touch feminine than masculine, but I'm cool with that. I'm happy, mate. It's just, you know, my vagina is very much an outie, that's the only thing. But other than that, I love this fragrance. As I say, it's unisex, men can rock it, and I definitely will. I love this fragrance. I've worn it quite a few times already since I picked up this bottle. Not complicated, but sometimes simple just works, and this is one of them. So Sparkling Bergamot from Alexandria Fragrances. The number 2 fragrance is from my favourite house, which I touched upon earlier. That house is Bulgari, and the fragrance is Manwood Neroli. Now, I fucking love this fragrance. It just resonated with me from the moment I first sniffed it, which was a blind buy. I bought this full bottle, and I don't regret it at all. Now, Neroli is one of my favourite notes, and obviously you've got to be a Neroli fan to really appreciate this, to be fair. But it's got some of the slightly woody elements from the Manwood, and mixed with Neroli, it's kind of, I guess the shittest, easiest way of describing it would be like Neroli Portofino meets Bulgari's Manwood. Shit, I know, but it's the easiest cop-out to describe it. But it works, and it smells so good, it's so fresh, it's so clean, it's attractive, and it just totally brightens your day. And the performance is not bad either. It really depends on what I'm doing, to be fair. When I wear this on a really hot day and I'm very active, I will burn through it quite quickly. But the last time I wore this, it was slightly cooler, it was more of in an office environment, and it lasted me most of the day. It wasn't projecting particularly strong, obviously, at the end of that day, but I could still smell it after kind of well into the afternoon. And it's better if you smell it spray it on clothes as well. It does stick for a little bit longer on clothes. So highly recommend that you get your nose on Bulgari's Manwood Neroli. The only thing I would say is apparently bright Neroli from the House of Ferrari is quite similar, and it's a bit cheaper. It's about 20 to 30 pounds. I've not actually smelt that. It's on my list, but kind of think, is it going to be worthwhile if I just love this already? The number one fragrance on my list has powered up the chart, because I think it was a number 10 in my list last year. But I took this fragrance on holiday, so I've now got some scent memories associated with it. But the more I've worn it, the more I've kind of grown to love it, and it's such a cheapie that I feel like it's a bit of an underdog, which makes me root for it even more. So I've really got an affection for this fragrance now, and we've got like a relationship. The fragrance I'm talking about is Zen Years Uomo. This is an absolute banger. For less than £20, you can get 50 ml, and I highly recommend it. I've done well over a quarter of a bottle of this, getting on for half a bottle, and I would definitely buy some more. As I said, I took this on a summer holiday, and I wore this most evenings when we were by the bar, kind of having cocktails, etc., because it's got this lovely, clean freshness about it. So it's kind of fresh and invigorating, but it's really nice and clean and attractive. The violet leaf is very prominent in this. That's the most prominent notes, but it mixes quite well with the kind of fresher, kind of more citrusy elements. And it's just so clean, so attractive, and unique as well. You don't really smell much like it, and it's got some real versatility. As I say, you can wear this as a summer fragrance, you can wear it during the day by the pool, you can wear it in the evening as more of a kind of attractive going out type fragrance, and you could also, because it's so clean, you can wear it as an alternative to like Bleu de Chanel and Sauvage, etc., because it's just a great clean office type fragrance as well. So for the money, this is an absolute banger, and there's no reason why you shouldn't have it in your collection. I thoroughly recommend Zen Years Uomo. So that's it. That's my top 7 fragrances for summer 2020. I hope you got something out of this. If you did, give it a like. It really helps me kind of grow the channel. And if you haven't already done so, do please hit that subscribe button. I would very much appreciate it. So that's me done. I only got interrupted once. So I'm going to go before I get interrupted again. Thank you for watching, and thank you for all the support on my channel. I will see you for the next one. Take care. Much love.